Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers win another series, taking down the Nationals by a score of 9-3. Tony Gonsolin was efficient, but the Dodgers didn't let him go past the sixth inning. Should they have let him go? We'll talk about that. Freddie Freeman has a 19-game hitting streak and had 4 hits last night. He's been on fire. We're going to get into him. And then we're going to finish the episode talking about the Dodgers double-A rotation and how nasty it is. That's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube and on the SiriusXM app if you search for Locked On Dodgers. And if you never want to miss a day and become a part of the Everydayers, our exclusive group of people that listen to us every single day, make it easy on yourself and subscribe in each of those places because you know we're going to be here for you every Monday through Friday for about 30 minutes a day. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Samperio. That's my co-host, Jeff Snider. We're both lifelong Dodger fans who have spent time over the years covering the team, watching the Dodgers, being at Dodger Stadium, being in the press box, being in the locker room, being part of the Dodger culture. And we're here to bring all that and what we call the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every single weekday morning. And the Dodgers won last night, so we have some good analysis coming your way, depending how you feel about Dave Roberts, I guess. So we know there's mixed emotions there. But yeah, Jeff, Dodgers won again. Nationals looked like the Nationals there in the later part of the innings. The Dodgers took care of business. And now, even if Noah Syndergaard is not good, the Dodgers have secured a series win.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't complain about winning a series and going to the last game without any stress. Like we mentioned yesterday, the good news is the Nationals are sending Patrick Corbin to the mound, who I think has been better this year than he's been the last couple of years, but he's still Patrick Corbin and not the good version of Patrick Corbin from 5 years ago. So, yeah, hopefully the offense can show up again and hopefully Syndergaard can give them 6 mediocre innings again and the offense gets them a win.
Yeah, that's the ideal situation there. We're going to start off today's episode talking about Tony Gonsolin, Dave Roberts, Alex Vesia, combination of those guys. So Alex Vesia was activated before the game. They sent Gavin Stone back down to OKC. Now, Tony Gonsolin went 6 innings, gave up just 1 run, was only at 70 pitches thrown, but that's a little bit deceiving in the sense that Tony Gonsolin was getting hit hard throughout the night. It was a combination of probably a little bit of the Marine Layer, Dodger Stadium, maybe kept a couple balls in. The Dodgers defense made some really good plays, and Tony Gonsolin's continuing Houdini act of outperforming his FIP continued on. But Jeff, with the bottom of the order coming up in that 7th inning, with him only at 70 pitches, with them knowing that the bullpen, even with days off coming soon, the bullpen's been overworked as a whole. Do you think they should have left him in? And then if you didn't think, or if you either way you agreed or disagreed, and then agreed with the Vesia decision coming in a close-ish game for a guy that has struggled all season.
Yeah, honestly, I like the call. For me, I feel like Tony Gonsolin was getting a little bit lucky all night. He allowed 10 hard hit balls, got outs on 8 of them, including, 9 of the 10 hard hit balls he allowed had expected batting averages of 470 or higher. He got outs on 3 barrels. A barrel is that sweet spot of exit velocity and launch angle where it's just, I think to qualify for a barrel, it has to have expected batting average of at least 500 and expected slugging percentage of at least 1,500. So, it's expected to be an extra base hit. He had 3 of those turned into outs. And so when you combine that and the fact that, Vesia was just called up for the minors, I think they wanted to get him into a game, and a 3-run lead going up against the 7, 8, 9 hitters of a bad team is about as good an opportunity as you're going to get to ease Vesia back into a game. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but it's I'm sure Dave Roberts went into tonight thinking we want to get Vesia in the game, get him back on that horse. And that was the best opportunity they were going to have because eighth and ninth innings, it was going to be better hitters coming up. And so between those two things, I actually liked the decision just fine.
Yeah, I was fine with the decision to pull Gonsolin, like I said, although I know why they didn't do it. Like, I would have probably let Gonsolin start the inning and then pull him at first, either first hit, first sign of trouble. I understand if Vesia was going to be your next guy, why you don't want to do that, because you don't want to bring in a guy who had struggled the entire season so far when he was in the major leagues into a game with runners on base. So that part I do understand. And I can see why they go to Vesia. And the Dodgers, Dave Roberts, they do this. They trust their guys regardless, pretty much up until the point where they don't they literally can't trust their guy. Like Craig Kimbrell was the Dodgers closer for a lot longer last season than probably any other team. And that was partially because the Dodgers were so good and so ahead in the division, but partially because, the Dodgers have done this before. They went, Kenley Jansen probably overstayed his welcome as the bona fide closer for a while, and for other reasons than Kimbrell last year. But regardless of all that, that was the spot they put him in. Before the game, Dave Roberts talked about Vesia coming back and did say that there was a conversation between them two, where basically pretty much said that Vesia's issue was the pitch clock, and he's a guy that likes to slow the game down, take his time, harness all the energy. He wasn't able to do that. He struggled in the first outing in OKC, seemingly got better. But in the end, he came back up, and it was not just the first pitch home run. If he had allowed the first pitch home run and got the next three guys out, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But then it was first pitch home run, and then getting a couple outs, and then getting a base hit, issuing a walk, and then putting the Dodgers in, and then giving up another base hit that ends up scoring a run. Now the game's closer. So it was a combination of a few things. So yeah, I'm not completely against using him in that spot because, like I said, that was the spot they would use him in. But moving forward, if he does stay on the roster past this weekend when Michael Grove is officially activated, I think you have to use him in the lowest leverage of spots below Brule and below anybody else.
I think so right now. Yeah, for sure. The funny thing is, if Ruiz gets under that ball a little bit and flies out to left instead of hitting a home run, our conversation right now is about, hey, Alex Vesia is back. He got a 1-2-3 inning because he did get the next two guys out. It wasn't until there was two outs that the wheels really came off, a couple of hits and a walk. And but if Ruiz just barely misses that, and not every mistake gets hit over the fence. And really, it wasn't a great pitch by Vesia, but it was at the top of the zone, maybe even up out of the zone. And Ruiz went up and got it. That thing turns into a flyout a lot of the time. And so it's just kind of funny how you talk about baseball as a game of inches, and it's what happened after, what could have been the third out that has in our minds that it was a terrible outing. But yeah, I agree with you that Vesia is the lowest leverage reliever right now until he proves himself. And I think that's why they used him here, because, 3-run lead against a bad team and the bottom of their lineup, it's pretty darn low leverage. And yeah, it's if Gonsolin had really been cruising as much as the raw numbers say, he only had 2 strikeouts. That kind of tells you he wasn't getting much swing and miss. They're hitting the ball hard. And so I think Dave Roberts was counting his blessings to get 6 innings when Gonsolin didn't have stuff. Gonsolin even said after the game, he said, I felt like from pitch 1, I just wasn't super sharp. I was really fortunate to have awesome defense today. That's what kept me in the ball game. And that's, I don't disagree with any word that Gonsolin said. Dave Roberts said basically the same thing. And so I think it would have been foolish to send him back out for the 7th.
Yeah. So like I said, moving forward, they are going to have to make a move this weekend when Grove is activated. Vesia could be that guy again, since they have already used one of his options. They would have enough time to use another one. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, all in all, after that, Evan Phillips came in, got two pitches for the last out of that inning, ended up getting the 8th, and then Justin Breaux closed it out after the Dodgers had patted the lead and got it back up to a 6-run lead. So all in all, good night for the Dodgers minus Alex Vesia. But again, we'll see what happens. Freddie Freeman had a really great night. It was 4 for 5. And really the only blemish was that he tried to stretch a single into a double and got thrown out at second. But he's been on fire. He's on a 19-game hitting streak. We have talked about almost everyone else around Freddie Freeman, and I think Freddie gets lost on the shelf sometimes just because he is so good. So Freddie Freeman's going to get his flowers in the next segment after we talk about FanDuel, because today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now new customers can get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. Yeah, that's true. $2,500, $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. The NBA playoffs are in the finals, and you got the Nuggets and you got the Heat, and the Nuggets are favored by a lot. So if you have any faith in the Heat, if you think this number 8 seed Heat can do any damage or steal a game, put some money on them. Go put some money on Jimmy Buckets and the Heat and see what they can do. And it's perfect. No sweat first bet up to $2,500. You're even if your bet doesn't win, you're good. So go check it out. Go check out the FanDuel app in general. They got great promotions going on like this all the time. The app is safe, secure to use. You get paid instantly. You don't got to worry about all that other stuff. You don't got to worry about, a bookie trying to get you to bet more. If you want your money right away, you get your money right away. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. So visit fanduel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Become an everydayer by listening every day, by subscribing wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube or on SiriusXM or the SXM app if you search Locked On Dodgers. That's also where you can listen to Dodgers broadcasts, home broadcasts of every game. If you can't watch on TV, SiriusXM or SXM app, search Dodgers and get the home broadcast for every game. Freddie Freeman got a hit early in the game to secure his 19-game hitting streak. Probably a hit that was helped by bad defense in right field by Joey Meneses. But it didn't really matter because Freddie ended up adding 3 hits to the rest of his night, including a home run, including another single that he tried to turn into a double that didn't end up quite working out for him. But regardless of all that, Freddie Freeman is on fire any way you look at it. He's now hitting on the season 344 with an OPS over 1,000. He's got 10 homers. He's got 35 RBIs. He's even got 6 stolen bases. And then you go over the last week, he's hitting 448 with a over 700 slugging percentage. You go over the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 452 with a 790 slugging percentage. And if you just go over the past month, which is pretty much all of May, he's hitting 390 with a 699 slugging percentage. Freddie Freeman is doing everything for the Dodgers right there in the top of that order. And like I said before the break, it's hard to consistently show Freddie love because he's so consistently good that, you want to give the other guys their love. But Freddie deserves it because he's on fire right now.
Yeah, although JD Martinez is probably mad at him because we mentioned yesterday 4 of JD's 6 homers during this hitting streak have been 3-run homers. It's now 4 out of 7, but it should have been 5 out of 7 if Freddie hadn't gotten thrown out at second. That one would have been another 3-run homer. And so, although I guess if Freddie had made it to second, then Muncy would have driven him in. But if Freddie stops at first, that's another 3-run homer for JD. So yeah, I mean, Freddie's out here stealing stats from his teammates. No wonder they all hate him. No, Freddie has been awesome. I started thinking during this game, I'm like, wonder what Freddie would have to do over the next 4.5 years to wear a Dodgers hat on his Hall of Fame plaque. Because he was great with the Braves and definitely laid the foundation. I wouldn't say Freddie's a sure Hall of Famer yet, but I think he's definitely on his way there. And man, if he can help the Dodgers win a couple World Series titles and maybe he snags, and he won 1 MVP with the Braves, I think he'd need to win at least 1 with the Dodgers in order for it to even be a consideration. But yeah, I mean, the way he's hitting right now, he's at 2.5 WAR right now. Actually, this is probably before Tuesday night's game. I'm looking at Baseball Reference. So he's probably pushing 3 WAR already. He's on pace for a good 8 WAR season. If he can do that for a couple of years, he's suddenly creeping up and getting close to his WAR total with the Braves. And the Mookie Betts will wear a Dodger hat on his Hall of Fame plaque. But Freddie is so fun to watch. And you didn't get to hear this because you were at the game, Vince, but Joe and Dontrell were talking during the game about some comments that Dave Roberts made. Somebody asked Roberts about Freddie's recent hot streak. And Roberts basically said, if you didn't tell me he was on a hot streak, I wouldn't know, because he's just always Freddie Freeman, you always expect him to get the job done. And most of the time you're right. And he's definitely been even hotter than usual right now. It kind of reminds me of that. What was it, right after the All-Star break last year, that he just, you wondered if he was ever going to get out again? That's kind of how it's looking right now.
Yeah, Dave Roberts also said that in that same vein when they asked him about JD Martinez. I think it was before yesterday's game that JD, you do know that he's on a hot streak when he's on a hot streak. So, a little bit different in the way they approach things. But yeah, Freddie's, like I said, it's such a quiet, like if someone would have said, oh, did you know Freddie Freeman's hitting, like almost is hitting over 400 over the last 2 weeks? I don't know if you would say yes, but you would be like, oh, but if someone told you yes, you'd probably be like, oh, well, that makes sense. And that's kind of where he's at. And I think the one thing that I've noticed, being there before games, Freddie never hit BP with the team. He's usually a guy that didn't really hit outside in the cage or outside with the team. He'd be inside in the cage. When he struggled early this season, he started hitting with the team, during batting practice. A couple guys asked him about it, and he just said, it's the same routine. I'm just doing it outside now type thing. Try not to make a big deal out of it. But, whatever it is that he's doing that's different than it was at the start of the year when he was struggling a little bit, continue to do that. And for him, it's big now. Mookie got a couple base hits ahead of time. Freddie gets those hits. Usually it's Will Smith driving them in, but today it was, Muncy had a chance. JD Martinez has a chance. And it's just instant offense. Like every time you get the top of the order, especially with the way JD and Freddie are going right now, and then, Mookie supplying some power, Max Muncy having, a little bit better last week or so, and then Will Smith being consistent as he is. It's instant offense. The Dodgers have, if you're a fan of McDonald's and you notice when the Dodgers score 6 runs and you get the 6 free nuggets, they've had almost like a week or week and a half straight of getting you free nuggets when you buy fries because they've been scoring 6 runs almost at will.
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch, and Freddie's been a huge part of that. It's kind of funny. So Freddie finished 4th in the MVP voting last year. He was the second best offensive player in the National League last year. Paul Goldschmidt was the only better hitter in the National League than him. The reason Freeman finished 4th instead of 2nd is because Manny Machado and Nolan Arenado were both very good hitters and also, Gold Glove quality third baseman. But Freddie this year has been better in pretty much every regard offensively than he was last year when he was the second best hitter in the National League. His batting average is higher. His on-base percentage is higher. His slugging percentage is a lot higher. Last year, he set a career high, led the major leagues with 47 doubles. We're just over a third of the way through the season, and he's about halfway to that mark already. He's at 23 doubles already. Try to make it 24. But, he is, and obviously he's going to slump at some point, but the thing is, like we've talked about this with Freddie before, we talked about it with Muncy a month or so ago when he went through that really hot stretch, and it was like, but it's mostly sustainable. It's not like he's batting 900, and yeah, Freeman is batting almost 500, so it's not quite sustainable, but it's not like he's batting 800 during this hot stretch, and so he is going to, be able to keep it going. He'll have some rough stretches, but for the most part, this is just who Freddie is. And it's pretty remarkable. Baseball shouldn't be that easy. And I've probably mentioned this on this podcast before. I think it's a little unfair to some of his teammates when, people say, well, Chris Taylor, why is he swinging and missing so much? He needs to learn some things from Freddie. Like, well, he should have been born with the natural talent that Freddie was born with. It's just not that easy, and so I can imagine Freddie growing up to be a really bad hitting coach because, like Barry Bonds wasn't a great hitting coach because just do what I did, guys, and, his dad, Bobby Bonds, was a much worse hitter, but a much better hitting coach because he actually had to work at it. And I guess Bonds worked at it, but in a more scientific way, if you know what I mean. But it's just that talent that Freddie Freeman was born with. And obviously he works hard, but there are certain things that he does that I don't think anybody else in baseball or very few other people in baseball have the even potential to do.
And you're not ever teaching his swing as like to your kid growing up or anything like that. Like that swing is just, some guys just have whatever it is, naturally, that's how they swing and it ends up working out for them or whatever the case. Freddie's been building his swing with his dad since he was a kid, and his dad still throws MVP sometimes. So whatever that worked out for them. But yeah, it's been fun to watch. Like I said, he will slump at some point, but at the very least, at the end of the year, Freddie's going to be over 300 hitting, and that's about as consistent as you can ask for in today's game.
Yeah, his batting average is up to 300 for his career right now after this 4-hit game. So pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. Next up is not about current Dodgers, more about some future Dodgers. The Dodgers AA rotation is very, very good, and we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the guys that are in the rotation, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and if there's a chance we might see one or two of them at some point this season. Who knows? That's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Become an everydayer by listening to our episodes every single Monday through Friday. They're there for you in the morning. You can listen on your way to work. You can listen at work. You can listen on the way home. For whenever you want to listen to, go check it out. And you can listen to the Dodgers home broadcast for every game on SiriusXM or the SXM app. If you search Dodgers, any home broadcast, Dodgers play at 1 p.m. today. So some of you might be at work or some of you might not be home. Get SiriusXM or the SXM app, search Dodgers, find that home broadcast, and you can listen and stay up to date with the Dodgers. You can also stay up to date with us if you search Locked On Dodgers. So go check that out. All right, Jeff. Last topic for today is something that's been seeing more traction on social media than the individual names. And maybe some people don't realize that a lot of that they're all on the same team, and you brought it up, and it's a perfect little thing to talk about. It's the Tulsa Drillers, which is the Dodgers AA affiliate, and their starting rotation, which is consisting of 5 guys, but there's been 6 guys that have made at least 6 starts. And you go down the list, there are names you guys are gonna probably know if you've follow the Dodgers to a certain extent. Landon Knack, River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, Nick Frasso, Nick Nastrini, and Kyle Hurt. The highest of those ERAs is Nick Nastrini at 2.83. That's the highest of the ERAs for all those guys who have made at least 6 starts. The highest whip of all those guys is 1.22 with River Ryan. There's as low as 0.80 with Emmett Sheehan. So there's some devastating arms there. And, it's fun to always look ahead at the future. We know we got a question last week we didn't address about like the Dodgers 2024 rotation. And, that we're not going to get into that specifically, but we're going to get into some of these guys and what they're doing, which is, pretty unprecedented. Tulsa Drillers are 31-15. We don't normally look at the Dodgers affiliates and their records, but I'm pretty sure all the affiliates have a winning record or are in first place at the moment too. So, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I know at some point a week or so ago, I saw that the Dodgers definitely had by far the highest winning percentage as an organization. I actually looked, we picked an interesting time to do this topic because Landon Knack actually got knocked around a little bit in Tuesday night's game for Tulsa. So his ERA is up to 2.20 now. So they now have 2 starters with an ERA over 2, which now that's more than they have with ERAs under 1. Nick Frasso is at 0.91. You look at it's just ridiculous. And River Ryan is one that really excites me. I talked to Keith Law about River Ryan when Keith was on the podcast here, and he is really high on River Ryan. On The Athletic, Keith wrote that he expects River Ryan to be a top 25 prospect by the end of the season. And not for the Dodgers, he's already there. Like a top 25 in baseball prospect by the end of the year. Just he's blown away by River Ryan. They got him in the Matt Beatty trade. You've got Nick Frasso, who they got in the Mitch White trade. You've got Kyle Hurt, who they got in the Dylan Floro trade. The Dodgers traded Dylan Floro to the Marlins, and they got Kyle Hurt and Alex Vesia for him. Like that's even Vesia has been better than Floro, at least at times. But if you got a guy who's actually going to potentially, really be Kyle Hurt has a 1.33 ERA. He has 50 strikeouts in 27 innings this year. Like he's a beast. And so you go down the line and, there's questions about whether Nastrini is going to be a starter or a reliever. There's little question marks, but they're all really, really good. And it's definitely AA is kind of where you start becoming a prospect, where you start, last year it was Gavin Stone. And we saw, he was great at high A. Then he moved to AA. He was great there. And then moves to AAA. AA is kind of where it's like, okay, this is starting to be a pretty big deal. They say that going from high A to AA is kind of the hardest jump in baseball. And these guys are just dominating. And it makes you wonder, like, which guy is it going to be, or which guys? Like, is Kyle Hurt going to keep this going? Is, River Ryan, obviously everybody's excited about. I don't know. Like, it could be any of them. Like, Emmett Sheehan is just a it's a name that if you're a Dodgers prospect hound, you've heard the name, but you probably didn't think, man, I'm so excited for Emmett Sheehan this year. And now it's like, oh, maybe we should have been. He's got 76 strikeouts in 44 innings and a 1.64 ERA. He's got the most innings than any of these guys, and he's just been dominant. Like, I don't know, Vince. I don't know how the Dodgers are doing it. I feel like there's magic involved.
Yeah, Emmett Sheehan's a name that I've seen a lot in the month of May, and the reason being is that he's only allowed one run into the month of May in 5 games, 4 starts. I think he had an opener in his last game, and then he came in and threw 6 innings. Did give up 1 run, but you just go through his month of May: 5 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, no runs; 4 2/3, 5 strikeouts, no runs; 5 innings, 10 strikeouts, no runs; 4 innings, 9 strikeouts, no runs; 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, 1 run. Like, that's a dominant month of May. And the thing is, like, we can get excited, and realistically, we're not going to see any of these guys probably for a couple more years. But, there's a possibility. We probably never thought Gavin Stone even last year or a couple years ago, we never thought we'd see Gavin Stone in the year 2023. So some of these guys are going to make that jump. And, probably I would imagine Knack at some point is going to get moved up to AAA just because based on age and, where he came out of college. And some of these other guys, might make that move too. But yeah, AA is really where you're probably facing more guys in AA that you're going to face once you get to the big leagues in the future than you do like at AAA at some point. AAA is kind of just like, a feeder system into the majors in terms of like, you're not facing top prospects every night. Well, you are, but not like multiple. Where in AA, you might be facing top prospects every night. They're just lower stage in their development. So, yeah, it's one of those things where, the Dodgers, you look at all these teams that are spending, Dodgers always talk about spending money. But the reason they're able to sustain all this and keep spending money is because of the way they develop, hitters, pitchers, all of that. And you look at some of these other teams that spend money. How many teams have we seen spend a lot of money, fall out of it, and then have to restart their situation? The Cubs, one of those teams, their guys never really quite panned out, and then they couldn't continue the bringing guys up and paying guys. So that ended. The Padres have done it a couple times where they loaded up and then sold off and then loaded up, and they're at the point where they're loaded up right now, but it's not going so well. And we've seen other teams do all this stuff, and for the Dodgers to be able to sustain this is the reason why. And it's not just these guys are going to come up and help out the Dodgers at some point, which is possible, but also if the Dodgers do need to go get someone, they have 6 guys in their AA rotation that are going to be able to be either used in a potential trade. So, that's where you keep going.
That was going to be my next question for you. How many of these 6 do you think are going to be traded this July?
Yeah, I don't, without knowing off the top, like which of these guys, if any of these guys are, I don't know. I don't think any of them are going to have to be protected this offseason, but I do know the Dodgers, like at some point this year and probably the next couple of years, the 40-man roster spots are going to start drying up in terms there's not really going to be a lot of spots. So they will have to make moves just for that. I'd say depending what becomes available, at least 2 of them would probably get traded if they're going to get something that's going to help them in October.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's part of why, like you're saying, why it's hard to build a sustained winner, because you do have to trade some of these guys, and you watch them become stars elsewhere. But Dodgers have been pretty good at guessing right, or whether it's guessing or not, getting it right. The guys they traded for Manny Machado, 5 guys, and none of them really turned into anything. I think Zach Pop was the best of the 5.
Or Dean Kramer, but
yeah, you got to be a pretty hardcore baseball fan to even know either of those names. And they traded Willie Calhoun and a couple other guys who, no big deal. Who for you, Darvish, it's they're pretty good at that, and I think that makes teams less excited about trading with Andrew Friedman, probably.
As long as they're not trading for a reliever, a young guy, on the offensive side. Then
yeah. Well, Andrew Friedman has said he doesn't like trading for relievers. So, and I don't know that they need to. And that's another way that these guys could contribute. If they don't think Nick Nastrini is a long-term starter, well, he could probably come up and strike out some dudes for you, or Nick Frosso or any of these guys, could help in the bullpen this year if necessary. Chances are probably, I don't know if we'll see any of these guys this year, but definitely next year we're gonna hear some of these names for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. One quick note on that end in terms of bullpen. Daniel Hudson threw a 30 pitch bullpen or 15 pitch. He threw a bullpen. He's supposed to throw off a mound. Dave Roberts said he's tempering his excitement, but that it looks like he's finally on the right track. I believe he got a cortisone shot, so that's always tricky because you feel good in the moment after a cortisone shot, and then you have to you realize that you have to actually keep going and continue on. But we'll see. But other than that, Jeff, you got anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. No, fun time to be a Dodger fan, and hopefully they can get the sweep today. Hopefully Syndergaard can surprise us and be good.
Yeah. On another note, Dodgers worked on PFPs and pickoffs before the game. Pickoffs, obviously, we know they need that. The PFPs seem to be led, or at least before the game, Freddie Freeman was leading a discussion about them, which is probably based on the play on Sunday when him and Victor Gonzalez kind of, both had a brain fart and it didn't quite work out in the moment, and that ended up being the go-ahead run. So, just another way Freddie Freeman continues to lead. So yeah. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Become an everydayer by listening every single weekday morning when we're here for you. You can tell your friends, you can tell your family, you can tell them. You guys can be everydayers together and have that family pride or friend pride of being everydayers of Locked On Dodgers. You can also check out the Dodgers home broadcasts every game on SiriusXM or the SXM app. All you got to do is search for Dodgers. You can also find us on there as well. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vincents91. DMs are open on all those accounts if you need to get a hold of us. You can also get a hold of us via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car or if you're at home. Search My Device Pet Podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.